Hello there, Richie Stormtrooper here again. Welcome back. Today I thought I'd take a break out from our Stormtrooper build and have a look at one of the accessories of the costume. Can you guess what it is? An important accessory for any Stormtrooper costume? Is it the cup of tea? Is it a cup of tea? I am of course talking about Stormtrooper boots. I have my boots that I use for trooping here with me in front of me. In this video I wanted to first of all have a look at the original boots, what were used for filming the movies, what were used on set, bits of the history and how they were made, etc. Also later on give you a few tips about how to recreate your own boots, replicas as near to the originals as possible, and also give you a few tips for purchasing your own boots, where to find ready-made boots like this that admittedly are a little bit idealized but are quite practical for trooping, so stay tuned for that. As I just said, these boots, I consider them to be a little idealized but a practical trooping option. So why idealized? Well, you will notice that these are made from ready dyed white leather. These were from a company called TK Boots. I believe they've gone out of business, or they've stopped making Stormtrooper boots at least. So unfortunately I can't recommend you getting hold of these unless you get some used. They are great, they've lasted me really well. I've had these for years, and it's been a while since they've been making these now. They were a very good replica in terms of the shape of the boot in general. Very comfortable, made from very soft leather, probably a lot softer than the originals, and as I say, made from pre-dyed white leather. They also have a nice comfortable quiet rubber sole. So how do these differ from the originals? Let's have a look then at some of the originals in the screenshots, and as you will see, they look very scuffed up, and in fact they're not entirely white, are they? Well, that's actually down to the fact that they were indeed black leather boots painted white. The original boots were in fact black leather Chelsea boots or jodhpur boots, depending on your point of view. Black leather shoes. Unlike my replicas, they had a welted leather sole, a very hard leather sole. You can hear that quite clearly when you watch the film. They're very noisy as they're running about through the corridors, and as they enter the Tantive at the beginning, you can very clearly see them skidding about, the Stormtroopers. So they do not have a quiet rubber grippy sole like these. The originals were made by a company, we've since found out, a company called Stewart's. They are no longer making these boots. The model is certainly not available. They're very difficult to get hold of, particularly because they don't even bear the name Stewart's anywhere. You can scour eBay for years and you may get lucky if you know the telltale signs, but it's going to be very difficult to get hold of any originals. They were of course painted white with some kind of white paint. I'm not sure whether that's the type of white paint that you can get. You can get hold of all kinds of different colours of paint, especially made for changing the colour of shoes nowadays, or whether they were simply sprayed with spray paint. What is certain is that that paint didn't really hold up. You can see certainly where the areas where the armour, the shin armour, touches the boot, there's lots of scuffing and the paint's coming off. They're really in quite a poor state by the time they got to filming the Tantive scenes. So of course a very accurate route to go if you want to recreate your own Stormtrooper boots for your costume or display or whatever would be to get hold of some black leather Chelsea boots or jodhpur boots. I say jodhpur boots because jodhpur boot seems to be the equestrian term. If you're selling these type of boots, which are basically identical, Chelsea boots and jodhpur boots are pretty much the same item, but if they're sold as equestrian shoes, boots for riding boots, they tend to be called jodhpurs. If they're sold for menswear, classic menswear boots, then they're referred to as Chelsea boots. That's pretty much the only difference that I can make out. But I will say this, when I've been looking for some suitable boots, not the original boots, but boots with very similar shape, they had, as you can see in the pictures, and here this is quite well recreated quite well on my TK boots, they had quite a distinctive shape around the ankle at the top, the opening of the boot. A lot of Chelsea boots tend to be flatter, like a straight opening at the top. I found, searching on eBay using the term jodhpur, I found more boots that were being sold as riding boots which had this kind of top. So that's maybe a good tip if you're looking for something suitable. I don't know whether it was coincidence or not. I don't think so, because I looked quite extensively for quite a long time, and jodhpur seems to bring up more boots with the right kind of shape at the top. Now, this is being very, very picky. This is an area of the costume which is covered, of course, but you know, Stormtrooper costumers sometimes have the tendency to want to recreate even hidden details exactly or as closely as possible. So if you want to go that extra mile and want to know that your boots look right even underneath your costume, then you're going to have to do that. And looking for jodhpurs might help you. So look for plain black leather jodhpur boots or Chelsea boots. Best thing to do is look at the references, look at the general shape, the toe shape, as I mentioned before, the opening, the shape of the opening at the top, and judge for yourself. There are plenty of traditional looking boots still available. Judge for yourself which ones look the best, and then you want to go to supermarket, hardware store, or one of these places that do shoe repairs and key cutting, and you will be able to find white paint specially designed for colouring black leather. Here are a few pictures of a pair of boots that I bought off eBay, as I say, looking for jodhpur boots. These were sold as leather riding boots. For the leather parts, I used the leather paint that you can find at shoe repair places. That's painted on. It doesn't dye the leather as such. It stays on the surface, and it does a reasonably good job of adhering to the surface, but you will also find that a few troops and the areas where there is contact with the armour, it begins to get scuffed up and flakes off, which is in itself accurate. It's good, but it may be, if you're going to be trooping a lot, it may get too excessive, too heavy, and you may want to go down a different route. We'll look at that in a minute. I'll tell you where you'll be able to get some boots like these or very similar to these. The other thing to bear in mind also is for the elastic inserts, these parts of the boot. That's an elastic fabric, so you're going to need some fabric dye. I believe normal acrylic paint will work perfectly fine just from the arts and crafts store, but also stuff that's sold as t-shirt dye works really well. You won't have any joy if you're using the same paint as used for the leather. It just gets soaked into the material and just stays, basically the original colour stays black. So you need something that stays on the surface like acrylic, that kind of t-shirt paint that you can buy at craft stores too. Now in my case, as I mentioned, you've seen what I refer to as my idealized boots, my trooping boots. These are my TK boots. These are the boots that I use for trooping. The leather is professionally pre-dyed. This white elastic is in fact white. It's not been dyed afterwards. It's not accurate, but it's kind of practical if you're going to be in lots of trooping, because there's going to come a stage where if you've painted your boots like the originals, the paint's going to be removed so far that it's going to be almost down. In some areas it's going to be almost down to being plain black boots. So this is a kind of compromise. It's more in line with what people out and about that aren't really into Stormtrooper costumes anyway, or the people that come to see you at events, casual Star Wars fans, whatever, they will expect you to have clean white boots, and the shape is good. Also, the rubber sole makes for a more grippy experience. It's more practical, it's quieter, and all around more comfortable, and in general they look the part. I use my dyed leather black jodhpur boots for display. I definitely wanted something to replicate the originals as close as possible, but that's something that I have planned for a mannequin. Currently don't have any armour on display. I'm still working on it. In fact, I think this suit that I'm working on at the moment is going to be my display on a mannequin, for which I will use those boots, those dyed boots that I have. So what's my recommendation for something like this, for trooping boots, for using often frequently for trooping. Now that TK boots are no longer available, I would say go online and look for Imperial boots. I will show the address down below. I'll add it in the description. They have a really great range of all kinds of. They started off doing these Stormtrooper boots, I believe, were their first models. They've done a whole range of Star Wars footwear, and they're also moving into other soft parts. You can get stuff like the TIE Fighter pilot overall flight suit, the X-Wing pilot flight suit in orange, also the Hoth pilot's padded jacket, some really great stuff. But they started off, as the name suggests, with boots, and you will find really, really good replicas, maybe even better than this, but they're made from this kind of dyed white leather, very practical for everyday trooping, very, very comfortable. I believe they also have rubber sole, so all the kind of little modernizations that you'd like for everyday trooping, little compromises of screen accuracy for traded in for comfort. Imperial boots are, of course, the company based in Hong Kong, I believe. They supply RS Prop Masters with all their soft parts, and certainly get my recommendation. If you're buying a full costume from RS Prop Masters, there's no need to source your boots separately because they can supply you with the whole thing. If you're based in Europe or the UK, it's probably even better to source your soft parts directly from RS Prop Masters anyway, and it's of course the same product. A couple of things to look out for when you are sourcing boots. It's probably not that up to date now, this information is just in case. Way back when, quite a few years ago now, Stormtrooper suits or accessories for Stormtrooper suits were being sold that included these type of boots with all kinds of seams and designs on them. These boots that I'm showing you now on screen are commonly referred to now as Elvis boots, as they're more suitable for an Elvis costume, where you know, the ones with his big white suit as he was getting to the end of his career in the 70s, and certainly not suitable for Stormtrooper costumes. These are the boots that were, a long time ago, were being supplied with the Jedi robe Stormtrooper costume. I think they've upgraded now, at least they've got that right. But if you do come across something like this, avoid those. There's some other boots that were quite popular a while ago, CA boots or Ka boots, however you want to pronounce it. I think they've gone out of business now too, and you probably won't encounter these, but just in case you do find on the used market some boots that look like this, be on the lookout for something which is overly patent. It was very much this extreme patent, synthetic looking, shiny look, and also extra seams on the toe that were certainly not necessary. You definitely want to go for something which has a plain toe with no seams over the top, but stick to the sources I recommend. Or if you're sourcing your own Chelsea boots, Jodhpur boots, look at the originals, these references of the originals, and try and match what you see, and you will be fine. But that's just a quick look at one small accessory. It's an important accessory. If you're going to be on your feet all day long, it's definitely important to have something that's comfortable and works. And if you are looking for accuracy, I hope that was interesting, the kind of background on how they made the originals and how you can replicate your own and what to look for. If so, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. I'd be very grateful for that, and take care. We'll see you in the next video.